If you're currently doing your auditing articles, or maybe you've just finished, and you're curious about pivoting outside of audit, maybe it's into something like FP&A or consulting or investments or advisory, then this video is for you. You don't have to wait until you qualify to start laying the groundwork for moving out of audit. In fact, the earlier you start building in the direction that you want to go, the easier that transition will be. I've spoken with so many newly qualified CAs who really thought that once they finish articles, once they've got the qualification, the doors will just open and everything becomes available. What I'm here to tell you is that that is not the case anymore. Perhaps it once was, but it's not at all now. So, in this video, I'm breaking down how to strategically align your audit experience with your dream post-articles role, whether that's in FP&A or consulting, advisory, whatever it is. I'm going to walk you through exactly what I did and what you can do too, so that that dream role becomes a reality. Let's get into it. Okay, this next part, as always, is going to sound braggy and lame, and I'm sorry, but I think it's helpful to give context of how I moved out of audit. Otherwise, it'll be like, what do you even know? I know some things. So I'm going to break down how I moved out of audit. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation. I think I had kind of an unusual path of getting there, and it involved a lot of work, and it's not for everyone, but this is how I did it, just so you don't think I'm a fraud. During uni, I worked for a kombucha company. I did their books because I wanted to gain experience in accounting software, and that was invaluable. I got to train under a CA and do month end and learn all sorts of procedures like tax returns and everything, which really helped me with my next job, which I did during my articles, which was working for tech startups, building their models, financials, prepping for investor rounds, basically everything involved in finance for a tech startup. And on top of that, consulting with tech companies that wanted to build their own accounting software because I had the knowledge from my uni days. I also networked a lot within my firm. I loved this. Whenever there was a function, I'd always say, hey, I want to do it. And not because I wanted to get out of my normal job, it's because I just love interacting with different sorts of people and learning. And it was really cool because then I got to know people from tax or people from actuarial. And I think that really helped in my 3 years at EY, because then if I had a tax question, I could be like, yo, tell me about tax. And it was, I don't know. We'll come to a section on connecting, but having connections within your training office is really important. And in general, connections are everything. Then, of course, on the side, I learned FP&A, and a lot of that just came naturally from doing models for tech companies. And then naturally, I did the FMVA, just so that I felt like whatever I produced was up to industry standard. And that's really helped in my current job. And the takeaway from all of that, and I'm sorry if it sounded yuck, but the takeaway is that I didn't wait until my articles were finished before I thought about pivoting. It was something I thought about way back in university. I was like, I want to work in a tech company. What are the best ways to get there? It's to build up expertise in tech, in accounting, in understanding software, which made it so much easier to get the job that I have now, which is working as the finance analyst for a US tech startup. And it's honestly my dream job. So let's dive into how you can achieve your dream job post articles. Step 1 is to build skills in the direction that you want to go. Guys, if I say this a million times, I would not have said it enough. You must never just coast through articles. You must never, ever do bare minimum in your articles. It is a waste of 3 years. This is the scary truth, and I think it's become scarier and more truthful as time has gone on, but articles alone and the CA qualification alone doesn't make you stand out. And it certainly doesn't qualify you for much more than audit. If you want to pivot, you need to upskill, and that upskilling needs to start way earlier than when you finish your articles. So when you start articles, you need to already be thinking, where do I want to be? What do I see myself as? What are my interests? And start developing skills in that direction. Okay, all good and well. Let's give real examples of what I mean by that. Say you want to get into the analyst space, so FP&A, finance analyst, equity analyst, you name it. You need to make sure that your Excel modeling skills are top notch. You can do this for free on YouTube. There's so many channels and different platforms where you can learn this, but you need to take the initiative to learn it. You need to be like, what do I need to become an excellent finance analyst? Okay, I need Excel skills. I probably need to know SQL. I probably need to know a bit more about the financial environment that I work in. It's up to you to learn that and to build the groundwork for that sort of direction. If you wanted to get into mergers and acquisitions, you need to learn how to do a valuation of a company, take on side case studies, help small businesses out, put yourself out there and take on any opportunity that's presented to you. If you wanted to move into tech, you need to understand how startups work. They're so specific. So you've got to understand how operations work, how funding works, what's a seed round, what's pre-seed, what's Series A, what sort of product metrics can you be looking at, what's a tech stack. And the takeaway is understand what your dream role is, even just an inkling of that dream role, and build your skills in that direction. Then step 2, and I would call this maybe like step 1B, but if you want to pivot within your firm, I recognize not everyone wants to work in a startup. I think corporates are very glossy and glam, and that is for a lot of people the dream job. So let's talk about how you can pivot within different departments in your firm. So let's say you're in a Big Four within audit and you want to move to tax or M&A or actuarial or whatever the case might be. Let's talk about how we can make that possible for you. The first step, and honestly, it's not as difficult as it sounds, you just need to get really good performance reviews. So this means showing ownership, taking on responsibility, helping out your managers. Basically, when you're in first year, acting like you're a second year. When you're in second year, acting like a supervisor. When you're a supervisor, making sure that you're taking on management sort of roles. And I know this sounds counterintuitive. It's like, but I'm not a manager. It doesn't matter. Those are the sorts of things that make you stand out from your peers. And why? Because then you're going to get people talking about you. Oh, so-and-so is such a good trainee. They're excellent. Yes, they'd be amazing for tax. They've got such an analytical mind. Those sorts of recommendations cannot be emphasized enough. If someone says that you're good at something, the vouching for you is going to really help you pivot within your auditing firm. And to build on that, you need to be visible in your training office. And this feeds into don't just coast through your articles, right? You want to put your hand up for things. Take initiative. If your HR person says, hey, I need help with an event, say, hell yes, I'll do it. Because it gets people in the firm thinking, oh, that trainee really takes initiative and they'd be excellent on my team. And the next step would be to build relationships in the departments that you want to go into. So if you're interested in tax, well, luckily, tax and audit always work hand in hand. Make sure that you're reaching out to that tax person and building up a good working relationship so that maybe when you're in second year, you can be like, hey, listen, I'm thinking of moving into tax. What sort of things would make me stand out in an interview so that that opportunity is possible? And 9 times out of 10, that person's going to be so willing to help you move into that sort of department. Just because you asked and just because you took initiative. So these 3 things, getting excellent performance reviews, being visible in your training office, and building relationships across departments will all make you stand out. Step 3, build real connections. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. They only got the job because they knew someone. Let me tell you, this is something I'm very passionate about. If you've ever said this, stop saying it. Stop blaming people for having connections. It is going to get you nowhere. This is the truth. People who network get opportunities. And you can too. I'm not talking about Nepo babies. This is not a conversation for Nepo babies. I'm talking about the sort of connections that come from you putting yourself out there. That's anyone's game. And not to be the sort of person who's like, oh, I read this business book and now I know everything. But I read this business book. I think everyone should read this book. It's great. Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. His first rule of success in business is to fill your 5 buckets in the right order. Your first 2 buckets are what you know and what you can do. So to think about that simply is what you know is maybe what you've learned in university and the technical skills you've gathered from maybe doing short courses or whatever the case might be, and you translate that into your second bucket of what you can do. You're using your technical skills to create actual expertise, like practical expertise. Then your third bucket, your next bucket, and the most pertinent bucket to this whole conversation is who you know. In order to derive ultimate success in your career, you need to translate what you know and what you can do to the people who can put you in the place that you want to end up. And why? Because connections are everything. They ensure that you fill up your next 2 buckets, which are your resources and building up a really good reputation. So my take on this, as always, involves a frank discussion around AI and its impact on the job market. Let's take 2 people. They both are CASA, they both just finished their articles, have the same sort of skill set, and both achieved above peers in their performance reviews. Now they both want the same job. Let's say it's an FP&A job, okay? And it's advertised on LinkedIn. The first person goes and applies on the Easy Apply on LinkedIn, and they create a generic CV and cover letter using ChatGPT, like the thousands of other applicants that are going to do the same thing. The other candidate recognizes the company name because a friend of a friend of a friend was talking about it at an event they went to. And they thought, hey, okay, wait, let me reach out to someone who might know someone who can maybe vouch for me. So they pop their friend an email and say, hey, listen, can you please intro me to someone at the company? I'm really interested in this job. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but that person is going to get the job. It doesn't matter if someone's got a flashier CV and a flashier cover letter. The person who knows someone is going to get the job because people trust people they know. If someone comes to the CEO and says, hey, person XYZ is amazing in FP&A, they are more likely to interview that person just because they got an actual recommendation from an actual person, rather than having to sift through thousands and thousands of LinkedIn applications that most likely all look the same and they're all beautifully formatted by ChatGPT and they're such good English. No one there is going to stand out. The person who reached out and got got the intro is going to get the job. And so to reiterate my previous point, never, ever be the person that says, well, they only got the job because they know someone. So what? Now they got the job and now they earn a 7-figure salary and you're at home complaining about it. That person made the decision to put themselves out there and go to an event where they could meet people, and you can do the exact same thing. Don't ever complain about it. But I do recognize that saying, oh, you need to build connections is super vague. How do we actually build connections? The first one, and it's the easiest one, is to start on LinkedIn. That means following thought leaders in your field, comment meaningfully, share posts, share your thoughts, share projects that you're working on. Basically building up your brand and getting people interested in who you are and what you have to say. But guys, as much as I love ChatGPT, there's one thing I won't do, and I won't use it for making posts. Please stay away from generic ChatGPT comments and posts. It is so obvious when someone is using ChatGPT to make posts. And that just takes away the essence of who you are, because now I'm seeing on LinkedIn, it's so lame. It's so lame, guys. Everyone is just doing ChatGPT things, and ChatGPT is thinking the same way that everyone else is. I don't know. So, I mean, as we all know, I'm very pro AI, but when it comes to commenting on LinkedIn posts or YouTube comments or even making my own posts, I stay away from ChatGPT just because it's so much better to be authentic, especially now that everyone's being a robot. Brother guys, honestly, just be yourself, even if it means that you're making some typos or your grammar's incorrect. That's way better than having the same thoughts as everyone else. And I think one of my biggest qualms with CAs in general, and this was before ChatGPT even came about, is that they say the same sorts of things on LinkedIn. I've seen time and time again the same leaving articles post or the same ITC achievement post. And I really want to urge all of you to think about what is your voice and what are your actual thoughts and your achievements or on this topic that you're posting about, not just parroting what everyone else is saying. I guess ultimately what I'm trying to say is, like, when everyone's got the same qualification and the same skill set, you can't afford to be generic. And then following on from LinkedIn, you can then reach out to people for advice. And that can be thought leaders in your dream field. Say, hey, I'm in articles and I want to get into XYZ role. Do you have any advice on how to get there? Truthfully, most people are very flattered by the fact that you even thought to reach out to them. So give it a shot. Even if they don't reply, it's better than not having tried at all. And then coming back to my previous point in step 2, but always network within your firm. Your partners will know people who left audit and are maybe now being the CFO of a different company. Maybe they can put in a good word for you. But they're only going to do that if you really stand out and if you really network. And lastly, on that point, is be genuine. And this is my overall feeling when it comes to building connections. In all honesty, I don't consider myself as a particularly charismatic person. I'm quite socially awkward. I know this is a shock to you guys. But I really struggle with, not coming across dorky. But I think this is something that I've owned, right? I'm equally as dorky on LinkedIn as I am in person. If someone meets me in person, they will come to know I am business obsessed and a bit cracky, and that's just who I am. That's my brand. And I'd rather be like that. I'd rather be true to myself than to pretend to be a polished person that I'm just not. And that's gone a long way. I think people will then gravitate towards that. It's like, okay, well, that's just Maddy's vibe. And that's cool. So I guess what I want to say is just don't ever be generic. Always be true to yourself. If you're making a post or if you're interacting with someone in person, always make sure that your true colors are shining, because that's what's going to make you stand out ultimately. I know this segment's been really long, but it's something I feel passionate about, and it's also something that has helped me advance so much faster in my career, is because I know people. I'd say 50% of my career progress has come from me knowing the work and being good at what I do, but the other 50% has come from people who know me and can vouch for my work. So, takeaway: connections are everything. And to summarize everything, let's just talk about the harsh truth. The reality is you cannot afford to be average in audit anymore. There's just too much competition. So if you want to move out of audit, you need to do 3 things. You need to build skills in the direction that you want to go, you need to outperform your peers in audit, and you need to network like crazy. That's the recipe. It's super simple. If you do these 3 things, you'll be absolutely fine. And coming to the end of this video, I know this can be an overwhelming topic, and it's so irritating, right? That we've been told that just having a CA is going to get you anywhere. I just don't think that's the truth anymore. And I've spoken with a lot of people who've come to the realization that it's not the truth anymore. You need to upskill. You've got to network. You've got to make yourself stand out in a genuine, authentic way. Otherwise, you're seen just the same as everyone else, and you're going to be overlooked. Nothing comes for free anymore. Unless you're a Nepo baby, but that's another story. So if you treat these 3 years of articles with intention and build with purpose, you'll come out the other side with options and a career that actually excites you. So let me know in the comments what sort of pivot you're aiming for. I love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for sticking around and being engaged. It really means the world to me. And I hope everyone's keeping warm. It's so cold in Cape Town. Anyways, lots of love to you all, and I'll see you next time.